into an interesting continuation of this OnlyFans saga on the channel. Like the music stuff, we also like to kind of talk about this because it's interesting to observe the way that this kind of stuff is also progressing in real time. But I ran across an interesting story which says, according to compiled data, it looks as though the state of Texas is responsible for the most money spent on OnlyFans in 2025. For anyone who is not aware, Dogon resides in the state of Texas. He actually lives in one of the cities which this article purports is amongst the highest spending in the state of Texas.
Not surprised. Not surprised.
So this says Texans reportedly spent nearly $250 million on OnlyFans in 2025. OnlyFans makes a lot of money, but apparently it made some serious bank last year thanks to the residents of Texas. According to newly released data by OnlyGuider, residents of the Lone Star State spent a whopping $248,496,363.64 on OnlyFans in 2025, making it the second highest spending state after California. California is at $350.6 million. So that's a pretty big gap, Jesus, between California and Texas. Wow. That's over $100 million difference.
That's $100 million, bro.
Dang, California, y'all got to get it together, bro. However, the jaw-dropping sum was attributed to Texas' large size and population, as it ranked number 21 among the highest spending U.S. states per capita. As far as the Texas cities that dropped the most money on OnlyFans content, Houston led the 2025 ranking with a total of $31,988,000. Dallas took number 2 with $26,172,000. Austin was number 3 with $17,544,933.33. And San Antonio and Fort Worth rounded out the top 5 with $17,387,250 and $10,241,583.33 respectively. When it came to the global cities ranking, Houston came in at number 11th and Dallas at number 15. According to OnlyGuider, OnlyFans raked in a total of $7.2 billion in 2025, a 9% increase from 2024. Although the platform allows all kinds of creators to monetize their content, it's mostly used for adult-oriented photos and videos. It's also worth noting that in 2024, the pornographic platform Pornhub voluntarily blocked Texas residents from accessing its website. The decision was a response to the state's age verification mandates for adult content websites. Pornhub argued that the laws infringed on adults' rights to access free speech. As you may know, your elected officials in Texas are requiring us to verify your age before allowing you to access our website. Not only does this impinge on the rights of adults to access protected speech, it fails strict scrutiny by employing the least effective and yet also most restrictive means of accomplishing Texas's state purpose of allegedly protecting minors. So there you go, sir. Looks like Texas is high up on the list of debauchery, spending $250 million on OnlyFans, second to California. You, a resident of Austin, what is your take on this Texas metric?
Yeah, not surprised. Unfortunately, the great state of Texas. Yeah, man, I've been out here for a little minute now, and I can tell you that, demographically, a lot of them will probably sending that money to Miss Sophie Rain over here. That's probably what their whole little thing is about. But it's a big state. It's a big state. California is a big state. So, it's following the Electoral College. So it's a lot of people here, man. And there's the culture here, at least from what I've noticed from being out in the bar scene and stuff like that. Um, it's a little standoffish when it comes to how to party out here. And I say that to say, not granted, I haven't been to Houston. I know sin on me, but a lot of people tell me I don't like Houston or whatever. I've been to Dallas. Dallas still has the same kinds of vibes that I'm talking about here that I experienced in Austin. Is that when people out there, they're mingling, they're doing their thing or what have you, but it doesn't kind of remind me of the kind of partying that goes on in Florida, South Georgia kind of thing where um the objective and the goal is to go home with something. Out here, it's a weird kind of thing where people are socially um repelling each other. It's very odd. So I'm not surprised that people that go out here don't go home with nothing and then log into their OnlyFans. Is my point. I see a lot of stuff where it's just like, how do people live out here? So yeah, I'm not surprised, man. OnlyFans has become the new wave for adult content seekers. Um, I guess free websites don't cut it no more for these guys. Like they have to get to the act of paying $20-$30 a month. I don't understand it. I'm on TikTok constantly, and women are constantly on live, showing everything, and guys are donating. I think what TikTok has done, yeah, man. I think what TikTok has done is it does some of it's not even G rated, but the G rated version of what OnlyFans is that these girls be on live all day long. I get on TikTok, before work, do a little scrolling, lunchtime, do a little scrolling, at night, do a little scrolling. It'd be the same woman online all day long, showing a little this, showing a little of that. Guys donating this, donating that. You're beautiful. Thank you for the follow. No real interaction. Make sure you guys hit the like button, share the video. Hey, thank you for the follow. Real mechanical stuff. And these guys just want to have their comment read. So it's the wildest thing ever, man. So I think what OnlyFans has done is it has bridged the gap between you can't pull a woman like that at the bar in real life. So but you can interact with her online
for a fee. Yeah.
For a fee. She can read your comment and you finally get noticed. You finally get noticed by a woman of whatever caliber this is. And then you get that endorphin high of, wow, she read my comment. Oh, she giggled at what I said. Let me send her another galaxy. And these guys, I mean, it would be interesting to see how much these dudes is paying on TikTok. So all in all, man, not surprised here. California is blowing people out the water. It'll be interesting to see what Florida is on that list. Because
it would, yes, yeah.
Because even though I said that, Florida party's different, the times are changing. And so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those guys go home and log into their OnlyFans as well. So crazy stuff, man. But what are your thoughts, man, on today's signs and times, man? Texas logging in for $250 million on OnlyFans alone. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, you bring, honestly, the way that you described how people socially interact and where you are, I'm here. It's not that much different.
Oh no,
it's not that much different. It's one of the reasons why I feel so strongly about this is because I'm out and about and I see it. Mm-hmm. I see with very much I see with a tremendous degree of regularity being down here in South Florida. How often I go out and I am seeing what amounts to guys not leaving with anything. Now we've always, like when we were going out, our younger days, in our generation,
Mhm.
that was routine. We'd see there was a I would say that there was a spread. You know, there was if you could draw up a pie chart of of the amount of guys who show up and they already have something, the guys who show up and they met something there and then they went home with that thing, and then the amount of guys who showed up with nothing and left with nothing, right? There was always an even distribution of that, I would say, where, you know, let's say 40% of the guys showed up with somebody, and so they already had it locked in. And then you also had another 30% of the guys who showed up by themselves but left with something. And so then you have the remaining 30% who showed up and left with nothing, right?
Mhm.
But now I feel like that ratio is more like that ratio is more like, you know, 40, the same 40% of guys still show up with somebody and then leave with somebody. But then at this point, there is nobody showing up, you know, and then by themselves and then leaving with somebody. And the remaining 60% is all guys who show up and leave with nothing.
Mhm.
So I only bring that up to say it's not all that much different than what you observe in your neck of the woods. I think
Mhm.
that that's more so a running commentary on how people are socializing in public in general these days.
Mhm.
And it's also, as a side note, um, another way that one can try to observe why it seems as though so many women appear to be sharing the same men,
Yeah, yeah.
because there's just not, for a lot of these women, there's just not enough men to go around because most of them are lepers, you know, and they just, but you know, that's a tangent. I don't want to go off on a tangent.
Mhm.
I will say this though. Do you know, so like colloquially, we often refer to the term baddie, and that term is used in music and whatnot. But did you know that that's actually become like a term that is used to describe like essentially a certain type of woman's occupation?
Occupation? No,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
know
for real. So like, yeah, so like if you go onto YouTube right now or anywhere else, if you like search up like baddie, for example, you'll probably happen upon interviews or, you know, podcast things or anything like that where there are women who basically identify themselves. They designate themselves as baddies, like that's their occupation.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so it's almost become a quasi official term in
Mhm.
which access to me is granted upon certain fulfillment of these specifications.
Mhm.
And it's almost like an official ledger. This costs this, and this costs this, and this costs this, and this costs this. And so it's so long as you can accommodate the cost of my leisure, you get the opportunity to access a date with me as a baddie. This is an actual thing that's happening in the world.
Mhm.
And even more abhorrent than the existence of this is the fact that so many men are now willfully paying that price tag.
Which is insane.
It's insanity. So the whole reason why I bring that up is if there are so many guys, and we're not just talking because you like to draw the delineation between celebrities and regular people, and rightfully so. Individuals in that stratosphere live a completely different reality. So it's important to properly contextualize these kinds of conversations to make it known that there are differences between what regular everyday people are doing and how they move, and how celebrities and top 1%ers and 10%ers move, so on and so forth. So it's understandable for you to draw that delineation. But my belief is that this custom is becoming more of a widespread, um, you know, acquiescing of the behavior,
Mm.
in terms of the idea that in order for me to have access to a woman of that caliber, whatever that caliber may be,
Mhm.
there's an idea that you must pay this entry fee. And that's becoming the standard operating procedure. So if you extrapolate that to the regular civilian world, where you're now having more and more women flooding the market with this marketplace, and more guys who are willing to acquiesce to it because they either believe they don't have a choice, or, you know, they think that that's the right way for them to be living, which is largely a result of the generation in which they come from. It's understandable at that point how there can be so much money spent on these respective platforms, because if there are so many people who are incapable or unwilling to pay the price, where do they go to get their where
Right.
do they go to get their rocks off?
Right.
They have no other refuge but to seek out these websites. And so that's reflected in these swelled up numbers. So obviously it's a multi-layered conversation, but I think that it's crazy that the numbers are what they are and that they continue to rise. But as crazy as they are, I understand it, because I see what's going on out here, and the nature in which the dynamics of the interpersonal relationships continue to change and shift very rapidly. People can't keep up with this stuff. And now you have actual people walking around in the world calling themselves baddies, literally being sex worker adjacent, because
Mhm.
a date with them is inaccessible if you are unwilling to afford the cost of their quote unquote maintenance, which is the price of doing business, or rather the cost of doing business, because they're baddies. So you can imagine that that particular sensibility is only going to fester and grow as the normalization of this kind of behavior increases over time. And as the aggressive normalization of this behavior increases over time, there's going to be more sexless, dateless men in the world. And where do these sexless, dateless men go with their sexless, dateless statuses in life? Well, some of them may feel as though they have to spend this money on OnlyFans just because. So I think that it's a very wild upside down scenario, albeit one that I get, if you're paying enough attention to how things are going on out here. It is an upside down world, man. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah, and to touch on the point again of um, how people are behaving socially when they all go out. Now, going out isn't the barometer of getting somebody for romance. Okay, but at the same time, it is a microcosm of what is going on as a whole in society whenever you do go out, because those are supposed to be the horny people looking to link up. And when they're not linking up, because everybody came out here for somebody, the women did and the men. But when I see these little pockets of people who came with themselves and just hang with themselves the whole time, and I go, okay, when is this going to start blending and people going to start hunching on each other? It's not happening. It's the most bizarre thing. So I'm not surprised that, and people like to bring in C-19 and the lockdown and stuff like that. This stuff was happening before that. Where people were becoming less personal when they get in these spaces because the advent of social media, smartphones, and all this other stuff, man. People haven't been as much. You didn't have to work on your game as much when DMing and texting became a thing. So C-19, I'm sure, accelerated stuff, but it's not the ultimate cause. You can't pin that down and say this is when people stop interacting in public. I would beg to differ with that. So I say all that stuff to say is that socially, the social atrophy that you like to talk about, there's a lot of people suffering from that. And as a man, you really pay for it.
Yes. Yeah.
If you don't have those social skills down, you're up against it, man. You were already up against it when you had social skills.
Yes.
Right?
Men pay a clear bigger price for underdeveloped social skills compared to women. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not saying that women don't. I'm not saying that a lack of social skills doesn't hurt women in certain respects as well.
For sure.
But let's be responsible to the conversation.
Mhm.
All right. There is no way in the world anyone can with a straight face make the argument that men don't suffer from underdeveloped social skills more than women do.
Absolutely.
In a lot of contexts, women don't need developed social skills. They don't need them.
Mhm.
It depends on what we're talking about. But when you're talking about romance and dating and relationships and sex, or the pursuit of it rather, women don't really, they don't really like, they aren't really like a lack of social skills does not really work to their detriment the way that it does for men. So it's not the same.
Correct.
It is not the same, and men are dealing with this in various respects that are completely different from the ways in which women are dealing with this. And if that weren't true, you would not have 80% of the people on OnlyFans being men.
Exactly.
There's a reason for that. All right.
Mhm.
This isn't just happenstance. There's a reason why 70 to 80% of OnlyFans users are men. There's a correlation there.
Mhm.
And the reason, but go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no,
I don't
that you speaking on it, and but that's exactly what I'm saying. Is that due to this lack of social skills that men are now being conditioned to have, um, they feel as though there's not much of an alternative but to interact online like this. So it don't have to necessarily be OnlyFans. I told you it's going on Instagram Live,
Mhm.
TikTok Live,
Yeah.
Kick, Twitch, where guys are paying, because it's not adult sites with Kick, Twitch, and all the other stuff, and but they're paying for the same level of interaction. They're paying for access to a woman online just so she can read their comment, giggle, and say thank you for the follow. And for whatever reason, that guy gets a level of satisfaction out of that he can't go out and get in the real world. And it's an epidemic with that stuff. So it would only grow from here. And like I said, when I'm online and I'm seeing this stuff go down where these girls are selling, some adjacent, some are actually on the damn street selling. Okay. It's a lot of women, all shapes and sizes, all ages, all colors. I mean, some of these women, real soccer moms, kids hollering in the background. Okay. Susan, who's dropping kids off, is walking around in the kitchen, no bra on. And thanks, fellas. Hi. You click on it, it's 1.3 K in the chat, and everybody's sending stuff because she ain't got no bra on. I say, damn, bro, like this is where we at. Yeah, dog. And that's just on TikTok. So imagine the girls that's busting it wide open on OF. I only have to pay $19 a month to see this. I don't have to drop a $19 Galaxy or whatever it is on TikTok every 10 minutes for her to do a 360 for me. Like, this is where we at. So some guys are probably looking at OF as a discount. Some guys are out there probably rationalizing that them spending that money per month on OnlyFans is cheaper than having a real woman. There's some guys out there making that argument in their own mind.
I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah.
But last thing I'll say is that for the whole sex worker thing, the reason why it made sense, back in the day, from whenever you would hear about it, it was a thing of you pay for them to leave. You would hear that, especially from the celebrity guys or whatever, and you're going to be paying one way or the other, cheaper than taking out on the dates and blah, blah, blah. And so you just pay her to get out. It was like, okay, well, whatever. If that's how you want to live your life, bro, whatever. But that logic has now gone on to not just paying to actually get a service in exchange, is paying for online flirting. This lady lives 4 or 5 states away, bro, and you're paying more money on her than you pay for groceries. I know some dudes is doing this.
Yeah.
So at this point, I don't know what's going on. It's clearly have the same type of reward payoff thing that microtransactions and video games, like it has that type of appeal to it, where these dudes are probably literally addicted to sending money to these woes. So, hey man, if you're on the smack, fellas, get off, man. It's not worth it. If you that hard up for online content, bro, go seek the free stuff. But I'm telling you right now, man, spending money in this economy, the way groceries is, the way gas is, just giving money away for something like that, for online hugs and kisses, you got to get your priorities in order, man. But hey, these are the signs of the times, and it's only going to get higher, these numbers.
Yeah, it is. I've been railing against this stuff since 2011 personally. Um, but what can you do? It's one of the lazier arguments that I used to hear also when it comes to this kind of thing is what's the difference between paying for a woman outright versus taking them out on a date? Either way, you're having to pay for it. And that to me was always a very lazy logic to justify a
Mm-hmm.
bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
uh any mature adult knows the difference between spending money on a woman on a date versus you know paying her paying her bills and paying for her livelihood
Mm-hmm.
just so that she can reward you with the grace of her presence, right? um and there's this there has been this festering of an idea that women are just entitled to certain privileges based solely upon the sake of their existence. And as disgusting as I find that type of mentality to be, I'm more disgusted with the men who create the marketplace for that kind of behavior to exist in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't really fault OnlyFans creators for being OnlyFans creators because there's a market for it. If you turn the valve off, the water will stop running. The reason why the water is running is because we, the 70 to 80% of the men who are spending money on these platforms, keep the water running because we open the valve and we keep it going by spending the money. So ultimately, the responsibility falls on us as the gatekeepers. If we're not spending the money, 70 to the math is there, right? The math is right there. This is not an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
If 70 to 80% of the users on OnlyFans are guys, and guys stop spending the money, that means 70 to 88% of the user base disappears. At that point, what do these individuals who are the purveyors of this platform do? They're going to have to figure out a plan B. The wells run dry. But as long as it's fertile ground, I can't necessarily hold them ultimately responsible for doing this, as disgusting as I find it to be. Not disgusting because of the existence of it, but disgusting because of the sheer disparity in terms of users versus non-users. And when you think that it's an unbelievable thing to fathom, all you have to do is just go out in person and observe these things for yourself. There are a lot of guys showing up and leaving by themselves. And there are a lot of women showing up and they're sharing the same guys. And on a different night, it just so happens to be their turn with the guy. It's crazy. But yeah, Texas having such a large population, it isn't strange to see that that's how the numbers bear out. It's just an overall, you know, observation in the sheer depth of this thing and how it continues to proliferate over time. And when you couple that with a lot of these individuals being given platforms to speak on their various lifestyles, it further exacerbates the issue because they just aggressively normalize the behavior to the point in which anyone becomes desensitized to the idea that there's a better way to do this stuff. I mean, you don't really have to spend this money, man. These girls are giving this stuff up for free in person. You just have to work on yourself, and it's easily attainable by, I would say, most men. But if you've been conditioned to believe that that's not something to value, then at that point you no longer care about that. So, for me and you, value was in meeting women in person.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no valuation attached to the prospect of meeting women in person, then that kind of ideology means nothing to you because you
Exactly.
don't assign value to actually being in the company of women in person. So at that
Exactly.
point, you'll just do anything and spend anything,
Yep.
uh,
And
which which to me is a roundabout way of you lacking value in yourself, in my opinion. But it is what it is, man. I think a lot of this stuff needs to be dialed back. But at this point, I'm running out of breath saying this. because these guys are going to keep doing it anyway. It is what it is.
Hey man, hey, shout out to the great state of Texas. I'm gonna be a little bit more careful when I touch doorknobs and stuff in public. Now that I hear, now that I hear these numbers, definitely gonna be a little bit more sanitary when I leave the house. So, hey man, shout out to Texas, man. Y'all out of pocket for this.
Yeah, I do want to. We need to do a part 2 of this and pull up some more numbers because Florida's got to be in the top 5.
Oh, sad stuff, man.
This backward ass state, Florida has to be in the top 5.
Mm-mm-mm.
All super ultra conservative and traditional, spending all of this money on OnlyFans.
It's trad wives. That's why.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hey man, you can't make this stuff up.
Mm-mm-mm.